This is Dead Serious, a show about short horror stories worthy of discussion. I'm Dead Palette, the guy who puts the steam in the US versions of shower scenes and witch-touching games. That is an obscure joke. Let's continue on to what we're reading today, which is The Girl in the Room, a rather vague title. Maybe that vagueness will work to its advantage, but let's get into this little ditty. I continued to toss and turn in my bed. Why was it so difficult for me to fall asleep? Nothing would tire me out. I kept staring at the ceiling, and I eventually punched the side of my bed in frustration. By now, I had awoken my youngest sibling. Wow, so right off the bat, we have a very angsty little protagonist. They're punching, or he or she or whatever. Maybe we are the girl in the room. We don't know. Maybe consider closing your eyes if you're having trouble falling asleep. That's a suggestion. Shit, I said under my breath, then tossed my blanket to the side and walked towards the crib. Even in the darkness, I could faintly see his outline. He stood there, clutching onto his teddy bear and, okay, so it's the kid, and wept. He let go of his prized possession and stretched his arms out. I sighed, then gently picked him up and held him in my arms. I rocked him to the side, hoping to cease his weeping. My action surprisingly failed. His sobbing grew worse by the second. Nathan, shh, quiet down, please, I said to him in a soothing voice. He let out a small cough, then continued to cry. What was it? I already fed the youngster. I changed his diaper less than 20 minutes ago. You've only been trying to sleep for 20 minutes and you're already having like a mental breakdown to like punch your bedpost. God, these fucking creepypasta narrators are angsty, and I do mean both kinds. Thoughts began to ring in my head, but stopped abruptly as I heard something fall to the floor behind me. I practically jumped and quickly turned around, and held Nathan closer to me. My heart began to jackhammer against my chest. I think they mean began to pound like a jackhammer. Okay, Kins, calm down. It was probably just your cat knocking over some of your oh my god, I'm being trolled. Fuck. I can't believe I read this far into the story before I realized I was being trolled by My Little Pony toys. Knocking over some of your My Little Pony toys again, I thought to myself, letting out a breath of relief. A breath of relief, okay. But our narrator, our protagonist here is named Kins, K-E-N-Z, which is, god damn it, people. Oh my god, the story's shit the bed so hard already. I held Nathan in front of me and realized that he stopped crying. I strained my eyes and noticed him focusing on something behind me. Hey, Nate, what's up? I said to him quietly, smiling. He merely stared and lifted a small finger to his mouth. He began to bite on his finger, like he usually does. That's a nice little detail, isn't it? I asked, then set him back down into his crib. He began to giggle randomly. Okay. Then I chuckled and then turned to go back to my bed. Now we have a division. It says 2:48 a.m. and we're going to continue on here. I awoke for the 4th time tonight. It was peculiar. I burst. What is the tense in this? Is this past tense or now? Whatever. This was peculiar, for I burst awake at the sound of Nathan laughing. For sure. I knew that Nathan never did this. He was normally asleep at this hour. Something was up. I just couldn't put my finger on it. I don't know about you guys, but when I keep waking up in the middle of the night, it's not like I can keep track of it. It's kind of like I'm awake but I'm asleep, I'm awake but I'm asleep. Tell me if you guys, when you in the comments, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't sleep, can you consciously count the number of times that it happens, or do you just kind of fade in and out a bunch of times? Anyway, I sat up, then laid my face in my palms, as I couldn't hear his laugh. As I continued to hear his laugh, Brandon, read. Please just learn to read. What is making him laugh so hard? I let out a breath of defeat. This person really likes to use the word breath in phrases that normally don't have it. Then lifted my head only to see pitch blackness. As I was about to step out of my bed a second time, I felt something cold on my shoulder. I froze. I swallowed hard and quickly brushed the thing off with my hand. I gasped, for the object grasped my hand tightly. Someone is in here. Someone, period, is, period, in, period, here, period. I bit my lip and jumped out of my bed. I ran towards Nathan, but I was cut short, for those dead fingers wrapped around my ankle and pulled me down with an incredible force. I was being dragged across the room and ended up beneath my bed. The side of my head pulsed painfully as soon as I rammed into the wall. Okay. There's something in this room because something is grabbing you. Like, that's a weird way to phrase things. Like, obviously something is in the room. Someone is in the room because they're fucking grabbing you. Whatever. The lights flashed on suddenly. Holding onto my head, I noticed some navy blue Converse standing in front of the crib. The light flickered, and those sneakers ended up in front of my field of vision. So you noticed them, and then they ended up in front of your field of vision. You saw them, so then you saw them. What? I gasped, and backed away carefully as get my hair caught in the springs of the bed. The lights flashed a second time. When I opened my eyes, I was face to face with a pale-skinned, green-eyed girl. I pulled my hand over my mouth and screamed into it. Who does that? I mean, this is obviously not trying to be realistic. Or maybe you think it is, but I don't think it is. But who does that? Who screams into their mouth like they do in the horror movies? That is a weird trope to me. Anyway, the girl stared into my eyes, not blinking. Her black hair fell in front of her face perfectly. With her cold hand, she touched my cheek. A tear ran down my face as the light turned off again. It was pitch black again, and I heard Nathan giggling. I clenched my jaw and was about to crawl out from under the bed until the light turned back on. The sight of what I saw horrified me. Oh my god, the phrasing here is just fucking so weird. The sight of what I saw horrified me. The thing I was seeing with it's just, you guys are noticing this too, right? I'm not the only one here who thinks that the phrasing, the sight of what I saw was horrifying. I was seeing this thing that I was seeing. I screamed aloud and watched as the girl's face began to melt away, exposing her pearly, white skeleton. Good phrasing there. Credit where it's due. Shh, the girl said to me in a reassuring voice. The green eyes began to slowly slip out of her eye sockets. Jet black blood swept out of the many cracks of her skull. I backed further away until my back touched the wall. So maybe we can infer that since this liquid is coming out of a human being, that it's blood, or something that is the simulacrum of a human being. But why would we assume that it's blood? Otherwise, maybe I'm being nitpicky here, but this story is asking for it. Nathan was hurt again, except this time he was sobbing. I needed to get Nate now. I yelled out in fear as two arms extended from the walls and grabbed onto me, forcing me to stay down. The cold, dead arms wrapped around my waist and pulled me back as I continued to scream. As blood began to stream down Nathan's crib. No! I yelled with 7 O's. I yelled out frightfully and began to cry even more as I noticed his favorite caramel-colored teddy bear fall onto the floor. Its soft fur was melted with crimson blood, and its black bead of an eye was left hanging on a single thread. "Nathan!" I cried out in all caps, even more, as the arms continued to hold me back. I gasped as I noticed Nate's lifeless body fall to the floor with a thump. Blood oozed out of his body quickly, and it took me a moment to realize that he had been decapitated. I hope when they say decapitated, they don't mean his arm was decapitated. That'd be terrible, wouldn't it, Alan? So I've talked about this a bunch. I have a video called In Defense of Gore where I discuss why gore is a good thing in creepypasta, and why I think that it's been misinterpreted and why people have problems with it. One of the problems people have with it is that a lot of the times gore is not written well. Here, it's not very vivid, and this, we don't care enough about this goddamn baby to give a shit that it's being ripped to shreds. That's the problem here, but let's continue on. The arms tighten their grip on me. Nathan, in all caps. No, with 7 O's. By now, tears begin to run down my cheeks like never before. Shh. It's all fine, Mackenzie. It's all fine, a girl's voice said. There we go, okay. Retracting my statement. That's why we're calling this person Kins, because their real name is Mackenzie. Okay. The sound of my name made my blood run cold. The lights flashed again, and I was left gasping for breath. Gasping for air. This person likes taking commonly used phrases and replacing other words with the word breath. It's fucking bizarre. I shook and looked around from underneath the bed. The arms no longer wrapped around me. I let out a breath. Suddenly, the lights came back on. Nate's body wasn't there anymore, although the blood was. Shivering, I turned my sights to notice the girl and her green eyes looking into mine. I gasped and watched as she lifted a finger to her mouth. Shh. The lights went black. The lights went back out again. There, I was trying to give that a good delivery, and I fucking flubbed it, and I'm not going to edit it out. Fucking deal with it. Then there are 3 little star text marks, and then, 2 little paragraphs afterwards. So before we get to those, this is what we would say is rhyming, as George Lucas would put it, that we're telling Nathan to shh, and now this little monster girl is telling us to shh. But let's continue. I jolted awake and found myself laying down in bed, drenched in sweat, and it was all a dream. No, I breathed heavily. There we go. Proper use of breath. I let out a breath of happiness out. Oh my god. This person is really into breathing. I chuckled to myself and held a hand to my head. It's just a nightmare. It is. Ha ha. Oh my god. I sat up and smiled to myself. It was just a dream, Kins, nothing more. I yawned and was about to lay down again until something grabbed my shoulder. Shh. Holy shit, it was all a dream. Oh my fucking god. This story was completely pointless, but I'd certainly say it's worthy of discussion. This image of a girl with green eyes, thoroughly generic, nothing to make it stand out. I don't know. The rest of this was too bland for me to be trolled. If this was just me reading this to be trolled by the one My Little Pony part where I thought it was fucking hilarious, the image I got of the brony that Kins was quite entertaining before I realized that Kins is a girl. Yeah, this is a lackluster story, isn't it? Let me know what you think in the comments. Seriously, how could you improve this story? I think it's just too bland for there to be anything to really work with here. It's also structured fucking bizarre. Why do we need to know that it's this specific time at this time and all of it's just fucking weird. Anyway, today's sponsor. Who is today's sponsor? Your new mom. Your new mom. At least I didn't fuck her like your old mom.